Welcome to Modern Goddess. Here we discuss everything mastering your mindset, wellness wisdom, upgrading your relationships so that you can unleash your divine goddess essence and live your authentic best self every single day. I'm your host, Cassie Aurora. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. This is my second go recording this introduction because for some reason I decided that I would turn the volume right down and that will be no good to you. So there we go. So thank you for joining me again. I'm so happy that you're back here with me for another episode where we can just focus on the things that we need as women on this planet to essentially up level, grow, be abundant, have a joyful life, be healthy, be well, and live free, because we're not here for long. You know, we don't get a do-over of this incarnation. So I firmly believe that, you know, if we're evolving all the time, we really can change our life and manifest the dream life that we want. And, you know, that's said, you know, we can't just be like in our spiritual all the time. It would be great, you know, if we could just sit there meditating, but like life happens, you know, we have kids, we have boyfriends, we have family, we have work, we have health issues and the physical body. And so this episode, we're really zoning in on the physical body. Now, you know that I love a holistic, integrative approach to healing. After all, I'm a holistic coach. You know, with my clients, we're looking at deep wounding. You know, in our coaching sessions, we're going to, you know, we're not just coaching like you talk to me about this and I'll give you a few things. We're going deep into the past. We're healing on a soul level, and you know, people are watching. You know, my clients, they're amazing and I love them because they literally work so honestly with themselves, and they are literally up leveling, their lives are changing, they're making these amazing changes. It just gives me such joy. But you know, I want to offer more to my service in the future, and I noticed where my skills were slightly lacking, and maybe that's just because I fell out with nutrition for a few years after I was so obsessed with it in my recovery from my eating disorder. I now am studying for my nutritional therapy practitioner, which is today's guest, Vivien. You know, my friend Vivien over at Viva Natural Health. She's a nutritional therapist, and what she offers is, you know, she might not go to the frilly wooey-wary stuff, but she'll give you real lab tests and real life advice based on what your blood is saying. And she'll be like, you need to sleep more, or you need to walk less, or you need to stress less. And she'll give you real tips based on blood tests, saliva tests, hair tissue mineral analysis tests. You know, she's my go-to. And I'm so happy I get to work with her to overcome some of my hormonal troubles. I'm actually waiting for some labs to come back. But she gets to the root cause of everything. And so she's the one you want to work with if you're looking at, you want some lab testing to go alongside a holistic approach to life. We've got to remember everything has its place. So science is useful. She always says, test, don't guess. And I agree. So I am really thankful to Vivien for coming on the podcast. We were actually supposed to be in LA next week and having a trip, and we planned that like we'd known each other, I think, for like an hour, and we decided we were just going to book this amazing trip to LA. It's hilarious, but it's fallen through, so God knows. And so, you know, I'm going to take that time to rest, to really go inwards. I really need some rest. As much as I love doing readings and Reiki healing and working with you guys in that deep healing way, I'm finding that now I just want a week where I can focus on my own stuff and just free flow. I'm a big believer in resting, because the more that we rest, the more money we can get, the more health we can get, the more we give to our relationships. So for me, rest is the absolute, and everything else falls into place. So I'm curious, let me know what you're doing this week to wind down, especially as we kind of slip back into normality after lockdown. You know, what is it you can put in place to help yourself? On a side note, before we get into the podcast, You guys know I love my Reiki Master healings. The wait time for my healing is now 2 weeks. So if you want to get in like within the next 2 weeks, you might want to book that in. And the wait time for my readings has gone up to 4 weeks. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to keep my readings, my astrology readings, bookings open for just 1 week more, and then I'm going to shut them down for a couple of months. And that's really so that I can consolidate those readings and get them out and not make your wait time too long. And I'm going to be developing a program for you guys in that time, which is essentially going to be about healing from trauma and limitation in order to start manifesting a complete new life that you actually want, the life you crave. We can have delicious healing and we can have beautiful transformations. It's just sometimes we don't have the tools, and I think you deserve that. And sometimes one-to-one coaching, it doesn't really feel right for you. And the reason I wanted to do a group program is to make the kind of practices I would use in a one-to-one setting, I want to bring them out to people so that they can heal in a group way, but at a lower price point. It will be a 3-month group program, and we will be together as a group. And we will be a small group of women. I don't want too many. I'm going to take applications, probably mid-May. And if you feel like you're going to benefit from this course and I know you're ready, then you can be in this group. And the goal is you're going to be able to overcome all the shit of your past, the things that you keep doing and thinking and believing that are keeping you stuck, so that you can finally manifest the life you want and that you deserve, because that's what I did. This is not some myth. This is not some I'm lucky. I literally now have an easy life. I'm abundant. I have more money than I've ever had. I have a successful business. I have literally attracted in the partner of my dreams. I have the health that I always wanted, and it gets better and better every day. What have I done? I've healed fully. So I'm sharing all of the thousands of pounds I've spent, all and putting it into one program that's going to be 3 months, and I'm really excited to see all the incredible women that join us on the program. So I'll tell you more about that, but I just like to announce it now so that if you're thinking, yeah, I want some of that, let me know, because I'm going to launch it June. So you heard it here first. June is the month. So it's going to be mid to late June, after Venus becomes visible, to give you time, because when Venus goes invisible, you're going to feel all sorts of things. Venus is about to go retrograde, guys, and it's going to hit us, and you're going to feel it. So if you haven't booked a reading and you're like, I know I want to book a reading, just do it now, because the bookings will close. And if you're interested in that group course, I would freaking love to hear from you. And if your body is giving you a hell yes to a Reiki or the course or astrology, you know what to do. So today's guest, Vivien, we talk about why you cannot homogenize healing, things that your doctor doesn't really listen to, the reason that diets mess you up for life. I mean, we talk about all the things. She keeps me on the straight and narrow. She's a truth speaker and I'm just emotional about bloody everything. But what's new? So I hope you enjoy the episode. Remember to give Vivien a follow. If you've got any health troubles, she's your girl. Get in touch. She has an amazing podcast with loads of free content. So without further ado, let's welcome Vivien to the podcast. Yeah, you can't.
Even the same condition, there's like 20 different reasons why you have it, 20 different solutions. So that's why you need bio-individuality. And if you're doing like the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that is insanity.
It is insanity.
The definition of insanity.
And I said this, you cannot homogenize health. But I have fucking for so many years been what? Keto, paleo, vegan, what else? I was raw, then I lifted weights, I did everything you said I should do, or like went and was hydrated. It was not working for me. And actually what I needed to do was not exercise. I don't need to exercise. Like I do yoga because it makes me feel good. Walk moderately, eat carbs.
Mm-hmm.
I really genuinely feel better when I do that. Apart from I did get a really bad gluten headache from that bagel. But was it
That's
that?
the thing. You also need to like think of you have to think of like health as well,
Yeah.
because I know people with like hypothalamic amenorrhea told to just eat whatever, eat as much as you want, like 6,000 calories a day, doesn't matter what it is, and then they come out the other side with different hormone imbalances. So they may got the period back, but now they've got insulin resistance, thyroid's messed up, and they're estrogen dominant and really inflamed. So you're kind of weighing up the pros and cons, and then you're trading in one hormone imbalance for another one.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that you can never have something, but you also need to think of your health at the same time, as being more expanded with your diet.
That is a good point. Like I think because the bagel and the gluten, it was to be like, you can do this.
Yeah.
You can eat that if you want. But then how I felt after the bagel, like, tasted fucking amazing, because the avo was organic from Abel and Cole. It was so nice. The bagel was just a normal one. But actually it wasn't, and I don't know what the headache was from. It could have just been that I slept bad the night before. It could have just been that I was due to come on and generally get a bit of a dull head and I'm more sensitive before my period. But I really think like it just was like, yeah, like I've done it now. I don't even want it. And I'm definitely gonna, I was Googling like paleo bagels, and there's a way you can do it with like gram flour or almond flour. I was like, I'll just make it with that.
Mm-hmm.
But there is like, I was reading your post. Do you want to talk about that? I'm curious.
What?
You know, your histamine post.
Oh, right.
Them, like, that was
everything.
Yeah, because like people always think that as health practitioners, or like me as a practitioner, like we never go through like meltdowns. Like we don't have to deal with our own healing protocols.
That's
Like,
absolutely not the case.
no.
And with the histamine thing, for me, that was like one of the biggest things that I've done for my health. Like, it's drivers of a lot of my symptoms. But being sensitive to histamine-rich foods in itself isn't the answer. So when I first figured it out, I was like, oh my God, I found the answer. Like, if I cut out all of these foods, my skin's clear, my anxiety's gone, I feel less inflamed. But then after a while, I was like, why is it that I have to be so restrictive? Why do I always have to detox and take all of these supplements every day and be really strict? And I wasn't looking deeper, so I wasn't looking at why I had these histamine issues in the first place. And I've recently found out it's because of mold. So like the breathing every day, my diet could be the most perfect diet in the world, but if I'm breathing in toxic air every day, then it could be something like that you're overlooking, or like a toxic relationship, or trauma, limiting beliefs, something from your past, not necessarily the food on your plate. And I think even as a nutritional therapist, my clients are sometimes surprised how little I talk about. So I might just tweak things a little bit, increase these foods, maybe decrease these foods in your diet, listen to your body, see how you get on. Then the rest of the time I'm talking about the air quality, water filters, the exercise, getting outdoors, circadian rhythm, like so many other things. And with the histamine thing for me, so shall I give a brief overview of like what histamine is? I think that will.
I think you give, like, bear in mind, listeners probably just think of Claritin.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
that comes into it. Histamine is a natural component of the immune system. So it's released in times of threat, or when our body is inflamed or injured in some ways. So like you get stung by a bee or a wasp, you release histamine, it causes redness, inflammation, swelling. You take an antihistamine and that dies down. That should be what happens naturally. And histamine does have some benefits. Stomach acid production, it's a neurotransmitter, but when it gets too high, it can cause like a low grade allergy type symptom. And that's what I was dealing with for years and years. Like nose after I was eating, headaches randomly. Well, I thought it was random. My skin was breaking out. And I found that the healthier my diet became, the worse my symptoms became, which was like very frustrating because I was reading heal your guts with bone broth, eat all of these fermented foods at every meal, eat all of these leftover foods, so batch cook on a Monday, eat roast chicken and vegetables all week, and that's really healthy. But for someone like me, avocados, spinach, citrus, tomatoes, all the healthiest foods are actually a problem. And this is it's not a very common issue, so I don't want anyone just like, oh my god, this sounds like me, to just go out there, because it could be you're going down the wrong rabbit hole. But that's what I was doing. I was reading things like kombucha were great to drink. So I would drink it and I would get severely itchy scalp. It felt like my scalp was on fire. My heart was beating quickly. My skin was really bad. And for a while, I literally thought that I was detoxing. That's how crazy it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just push through. It's just me getting used to it. It's bacteria dying off in my gut, which sounds ridiculous now because I was obviously having like a severe allergic reaction to them. But that's what happens when you're sick and you want answers. You'll just try anything. You get a little bit delusional, don't you? Just searching.
Oh yeah.
You'll try anything. So then after a while, I figured out that it was histamine. I wrote the blog post. I think it's how I cleared my skin in 7 days by eating less healthy, which is like a very catchy headline, but you can see like a before and after with my skin. But from there, and there has been times when my skin has flared up again because I've eaten some of those foods because they do provide benefit, but I just need to find a balance. And long term, I do want my diet to be as as possible and as diverse as I possibly can. But at the moment, I need to think of my health as well. So this is what we were talking about. I could go out there and eat them, but I will physically ill, and I would actually be kind of injuring and inflaming my body by doing so. So I need to weigh up whether something's worth having. And the other day I had a chocolate muffin and it was absolutely delicious. And it was made with like really organic bananas and cacao powder, fair trade, sugar-free, all of that. But I had like a reaction to that, just like a healthy, it was like this big. So definitely not out of the woods yet, but at least I know what's going on, and that's provided some relief that there is some answer out there, because when you don't know what's going on, I think that's the most frustrating and scary thing. You're just constantly YouTubing, you're up at 3 a.m, Googling, reading articles, trying to implement everything that everyone's telling you to do, but they're not looking at your health in the context of their recommendations. It's maybe like a 30 middle-aged white man who's recommending those diet tweaks, that exercise regime, and he's not looking at you as like a 19-year-old girl who's 5 foot and is coming out of an eating disorder. You know what I mean?
God.
Yeah.
Don't, honest to God.
And it's good that there's all of this information out there, but it can be too much of a good thing, in my opinion.
I love how you Libra it out, because you always give it like, and it's good. It's good that it's out there. Like, don't mean to offend anyone, whereas I'm like, fucking hate them all. It's not. It's like coming from, yeah, like a 19-year-old girl. So I had an eating disorder, and then I started to get all those weird undiagnosed things. And honestly, like, I'm so much healthier now than I was. But like, as you know, like, so listeners, me and Vivien are working together. I'm doing all my labs now, because I was like, I have to prioritize my health. But like, when I did your questionnaire, my induction questionnaire, I was like, fuck, actually, there are a few things here. Like, but the only significant change that there has been in my eating disorder journey, if I'm truthful, there's been an increase in food. It's still been like clean, but like the majority of my healing has been trauma based, and that's the big work that transformed my health and my inflammation. But the missing piece for me, which is kind of the opposite to everyone else that you probably get, is definitely I was moving too much, but also that my diet was too devoid. But because like I can't eat tomatoes, aubergines, like maybe they're
The
historic,
nightshade.
like nightshades I call them, and like because I can eat cacao and I feel fine, but like if I touch gluten or nightshades, it's like the migraine and the heat. It's so intense. But when I was doing that questionnaire, I was like, wow, like now I look, because when you do Vivien's intake questionnaire, guys, when you work with her, it's like, wow, I'm already seeing a lot just from the questions you're asking. And it wasn't the stuff I thought. Like, you were like, describe your relationship with food. I was like,
Yeah, I often get like they send me a separate PDF document because they want to say, and the box isn't big enough. So yeah, I do ask. It is quite lengthy. You're probably there for like a good 30 minutes filling it out, but I think that in itself is part of the healing. That's like the start. That's where you really start to
yeah,
think, oh my god, the IBS and the constipation that I've had since I was 8 years old maybe isn't normal. Like, why is she asking me, do I have eye twitches? What does it mean? And you start to like be intrigued and start to realize that your symptoms are actually messages from your body. And just because it's something that's common and you've had it for all your life doesn't mean that it's normal.
yeah. And I think as well, I think in the spiritual community, I see this quite a lot. Like people are like, I'm having a detox. I'm like, babe, you ain't detoxing like that every week. Like there's a problem here. Like, oh, my hair's falling out, so my my crown chakra's being like opened. I'm like, no, you got some shit going on. Or like for me, I do have issues with expression that will come up as a rash. But there's also an inflammation that's running through my body, coming up as eczema. And before it was itchy and red and like sore. And now it's shifted to dry, itchy. But I'm still like, there's a way that there's two things here. And I think this is why integrative medicine has such a place. And this is why like the work you do is so precious. And the work I do is as well. But this is why I'm sending my clients over to you, because I can't bridge. I can do all the deep spiritual psycho work, but I can't do right now. I can't send off a lab. Like I'm just like, go to Vivien. Like,
Yeah, and I'm the same with you. Like, I refer people to you because I'm not trained in the energetic, emotional, astrological things either. I'm good at like telling you what to eat, what to avoid, like reading labs, providing protocols, but I'm not like very into the mindset side of things. I do understand how important it is. So a lot of my clients get the recommendations for therapists and books and energetic medicine, Reiki, all of those things, because it is just as important, if not more, than the food on your plate the majority of the time. And I think it's good in some ways that you've started mainly with the mindset work before you've really dove into the labs and the protocols and all of that, because that is 90% of the work, and it is the hardest work to do, working through your traumas, your limiting beliefs. And a lot of people spend years, decades just on the physical side and don't address the mental, emotional, and then they don't get the results that they want until they really look into those things.
yeah, it is true though. Like, I mean, you can't do that work with them yet, right? So one day you might swing and bring that. Like most of my work, like I do with clients, is I start with a reading, but in the reading I'm looking at all of their limitations and their childhood programming, and then I always go into all of the work we do is somatic. It's trauma based, so it's like trauma therapy that I work with clients. Um, and then there is some coaching, but 100% like I definitely spent way too long focusing on just the food. So from like 18, I don't say it was healthy, but Jesus Christ, I was like doing keto in 2007. Now what? And so when it came around, like what, 3 years ago, I was like, oh, this is old. But the
Been
point,
there, done that.
yeah,
It doesn't work.
yeah. Do you know what? Like, I think it suits me. Generally, I just like to eat more fat because but I do love a bowl of porridge. But there was a big thing that Meg Doll and Christina Rice talked about, and I'm interested to see what you think about this, because like this whole diet culture thing is like, well, if you're low fat and high carb, you need to be that, and you can't be high carb and high fat, or if you're going to increase your fats, then you've got to decrease your carbs. When we're coming from an amenorrhea perspective, I was like, that's really damaging, because like I've started to increase my carbs lately just by having porridge a few times a week to begin with. And then I'm like, all of a sudden, like, shit, I need to not have that much fat. And I'm like, where does that even come from? Like, why is that brain science even a thing?
Yeah, I think it comes back to calories, because if you're increasing one macronutrient, say carbohydrates, then, and you're also increasing fat, then you're obviously going to increase your calories overall, which bodybuilders and most people that concerned with. But for someone with amenorrhea, the goal is to flood your body with nutrients. Don't care too much about the calories necessarily, and I think that's where it's come from. But there is research saying that high sugar and high carbohydrates and high fat together cause metabolic syndrome and inflammation, increases your blood sugar and insulin. A lot of that is mainly the processed foods. So think of like a donut, carbohydrates and fats. That's the kind of type of food that they're talking about. They're not talking about a sweet meal with some grass-fed butter on there. That's going to act very differently in the body. And it's just fueling that mindset and that stress around food, which is what someone like you needs to really avoid and move away from.
Right. I think even though I've done all this healing work, it's so quick that you can jump back into that. Like, I'm not joking. This is Sunday. I've done shitloads of work, but Sunday I found myself Googling. I'd heard this name thrown around, Ray Peat, right? That guy. And I went on I just was like, what is that? What is his diet all about? Just out of interest. And I read something about you shouldn't eat avocados. I'm like, why? So then I go down this rabbit hole for about half an hour of my day.
Polyunsaturated
poo-poos. I was like, what's a poo-poo? Poofa. And I was like, I think he means polyunsaturated fatty acids, maybe. Mm-hmm. I was like, I guess. And I was just like, shit, maybe I shouldn't eat avocado. And I just thought, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like diet culture, all of it, like, it's like someone's got like Ray P or whoever, I'm not saying anyone, but this is what you see in the diet culture is one person's gone, this is the answer. And then they evangelize a whole regime. And I sat there yesterday and I just thought, fucking diet industrial complex is an absolute joke, because I know so many people who are like, the diet starts Monday, and then they do this whole like, if you do this, you've got a disordered eating pattern. Just by the way, I'm just going to say it, but like I know it because I've done it. It's like they get stuck in this Weight Watchers thing or Slimming World or whatever these type of well-known diets are. It's like, how long have you been there? And they're like, 7 years on and off, and I'm like,
it's obviously not working.
So
just being honest,
talk about why do diets, why do they not work in a nutshell, and why do they usually make women worse? Like I think they make women worse in the long run.
Yeah, it's just we can't have. If you tell someone you can't have this, you want it even more than you usually do. So I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. The more that you restrict something, the more that your body's going to crave it, and the more that you restrict, the less nutrients you're getting in, so your body is going to not function as well. And if I was to just go on Instagram now and look at all of the accounts and profiles, and take all of that advice on board, I would be down to fresh air and water. Only if it's filtered water. You could really mess yourself up, and that's why you need to take everything in context. So who are they aiming the post at? are they considering your IBS? Do they know they have a family history of diabetes or cardiovascular disease? Do you have food allergies, food sensitivities? No one is looking at the person unless you're working with someone where it does come back down to major bio-individuality. And with my story as well, with the histamine-rich foods, I would love to eat all of those things, but because of food sensitivities and my health at the moment, they're just not working for you. So I think that's the bottom line of it all. And even these people who have like healthy diets, like eat whatever you want, I think there's still some issues with that because they're not looking at health overall. So I think we need to be somewhere in the middle, personally.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you do want to be somewhere in the middle. And like, I took the fuck it diet, and I needed that book. When I read that book, I needed that book because I needed someone to say, it's okay, what you want. Then I didn't want all the crap. Then the mental relief was so much like, but you're right, like diets, unfortunately the word diet has even changed in terms of what it means. Like, no, and I do think that we're constantly changing. Like, I eat very different to in the winter as I would in the summer. And if you think about it, like, it's a very strange concept to be eating like summer foods in the winter. Like, you don't go and eat a melon in winter. And if you do, like, I know if I eat cucumber in winter, I'm cold all day. Mm-hmm. Like the other day I ate too much raw food, and that's when I texted you and I was like, my temperature's 34 degrees. I was like, what the fuck? I'm actually dying. It didn't go up, and I checked it 4 times. 34 degrees. It only is on average. I was dying. I Googled it, and Google was like, you must go now immediately to hospital. I was like, I feel okay.
Are you breathing?
I was like, I feel okay. Like, but then obviously as when I get close to my period, I hit the highs of 36.2. So I'm quite happy. But the point is, like, our needs change as women. You know, they change. Like, eating for fertility, you know?
Yeah, and I think the bottom line of everything should be eat as close to nature as possible the majority of the time, what's available to you seasonally, locally, organic as much as possible. And I think most of the diet quote camps agree on that. It really is just it then gets into the more specific things, like how many carbohydrates, how many polyunsaturated fats do you tolerate? Are you eating animal protein? Are you not? But ultimately, if you stick with unprocessed foods as close to nature as possible, the majority of the time, you're doing better than 90% of the population at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if you're even eating things like bananas in the middle of winter, like that's been shipped from wherever halfway across the world, then that's not really natural either. But we have to just do the best that we can. And if you're in a location that doesn't really have any local organic farms, then you just have to get what you have access to ultimately. But even that becomes a stress. Like, oh, I can't eat a cucumber in my salad because it's the wrong season. It's just very stressful.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it comes down to how do you feel. Like, I love cucumber, but then I don't want it at the moment, so I'm guessing it's not what I need. Like, then, but I think we get so out of touch with our bodies, and our bodies can often tell us. I think they can tell us, and then, I don't know about you, do you see it often where people their intuitive radar for food and like what they need is really off? I'm curious to see how does that happen?
Yeah, especially if they've got like digestive issues. If you've got like a raging candida or yeast overgrowth, that yeast is going to be telling your brain all day long that you need sugar, carbohydrates, sweets. And you may think, oh, I'm just intuitively eating, I feel like a lot of carbohydrates today, but it could actually be causing more problems in terms of the yeast overgrowth. So that's where it becomes tricky. And for the intuitive crowd to just say, listen to your body and you've got insulin resistance or leptin resistance, you've got a history of an eating disorder, then listening to your body probably isn't going to work all the time. But then there's people as well with parasites and malabsorption, so they have like a constant appetite where they just never feel full. That's not to say that they need 6,000 calories a day. They're probably not benefiting from the majority of that. So I see that all the time, definitely.
Yeah, and like the intuitive camp, yeah, like you said, listening to your body, and a lot, there is a big, I know a lot of spiritual people who've got disordered eating patterns. They don't even recognize that. Like, I know that the fact that intuitively my body does not have a hunger signal until the hunger signal is like, I will eat everything in this cupboard now, and I have to be okay. Obviously, something I've done to get to this point has led me to feel that. I'm going to make sure I have protein and fat and a bit of carb at this meal, and make sure there's loads of nutrients in there, because ultimately, like, that's also not healthy to not have an appetite. And people sometimes say, you know, the thing about fasting, like, well, you know, when you're fasting, and then like my boyfriend fasts, right? 16, he does like
16-8.
Yeah. No, he just, yeah. Right, okay. When he gets to 2 p.m, he fucking eats like hot. He eats about 4 servings of porridge, like definitely 2 bagels. Like, he has no animal protein in his diet, and I'm like, I'm sure this isn't healthy.
Yeah, so he's getting all the autophagy benefits and all the immune reset and the digestive reset, and then he's just filling his body full of these foods. And even though they're probably healthy, it's just too much all at once. Your body can't eat food, and there is that feast and famine. But if you're leaving that kind of quote binge feeling exhausted and tired and bloated and sluggish, is it really worth? Why don't you just eat 3 meals a day? You're probably going to benefit much more than the fasting.
It's true. It's true. And I think there's a real worry with, I mean, I'd like you to talk about fasting, because I think in the spiritual world now, fasting's a huge thing. And like, you as a practitioner, I'm guessing you might use it, you know, maybe with special cases, but, you know, as a practitioner, it would be, I'm assuming, one of the last things you would implement. It's like quite advanced.
Yeah, especially if someone's coming from that disordered eating. I don't specialize in eating disorders or anything, but a lot of women, they may not have been diagnosed, but most women do have some degree of eating disorders or disordered eating. And yeah, with fasting, that is a tool. So it's not for everyone, especially women of reproductive age. Our bodies are very sensitive to signals of stress and famine. So your body doesn't know the difference between you just skipping breakfast or extending your fast to 16 hours every night versus being actually in a famine in the middle of winter with no food. It doesn't know. So as a protective mechanism, it will conserve energy. It will slow down your metabolism, slow down your thyroid, either delay or completely stop ovulation that month. So your period could be messed up, or your fertility's affected. Maybe your period stopped completely, and that's trying to protect you because of that. Because if you not got enough fuel to fuel your own body, you're not going to have enough fuel to fuel a potential baby and another life. If someone, we've worked on their health and their adrenals are very stable, they've got balanced minerals, balanced nutrients, we've been working on their health for a while, stress in their life otherwise is pretty good, like they have a routine, they're not a new mom with like a 3-year-old and a 3-week-old baby not sleeping, then it may be that we introduce some intermittent fasting for the benefits, and I don't really go past 16 hours. So for example, you finish your evening meal at 6 p.m, and then you would wait at least until 6 a.m. to have your breakfast, but then you could push that to like 10 a.m. A little bit later. You get a lot of the benefits of immunity and cell renewal from those 12 to 16 hours. Going past that, you're kind of just stressing your body out a little bit more, and appetite may be suppressed. You may feel fine. You may actually have adrenaline, more energy, but that's not a good thing. You're actually stressing your body, causing it to break down a little bit, causing your adrenals to be on overdrive, and then in the long run that can affect things like your menstrual cycle, your metabolism. So it's a tool. It doesn't even have to be something that you do every day, so you don't need to like commit to doing something every single day. You can just do it and be intuitive with that. So if there's one evening that you're not really hungry, and then if everything else is pretty fine, you don't have any of these health conditions, then maybe you can just skip dinner that evening, and then when you're hungry, eat again. When you're full, stop. Real basic old school things, but we've lost touch with just listening to what our body's telling us.
Right, you're so right. Like, it is basic old school, but I think we need to make it that simple. I think people want to hear that.
Yeah.
They want to be told, babe, like, eat 3 meals a day, eat things you like that are healthy in moderation, because we've just gone so far from that. Like, you were so right with nature. I mean, it's so funny you said about, you know, when people say they've been fasting and they're like, I feel great. And I'm like, yeah, because you're in fight or flight.
Yeah.
Like, or when they've been on keto and they're like, they've already got fucking disordered eating, or they've already got like shitloads of trauma. And it's either they feel fat and shattered when they're eating normally, which is one of my favourite sentences, but I don't mean it personally in general. They feel shattered and awful, or they're eating crap, or they're on a calorie deficit, they're fasting, they're working out hard. I'm like, yeah, because when you're doing that Monday to Friday or whatever it is, you're in fight or flight. Like, you're not.
Adrenaline is like pumping through your veins, and some people just feel the buzz of doing a diet, like the maybe in a Facebook group and the people at the gym and the diet as well, so they feel like happy that they're like in a community some way, and that's where it gets a little bit crazy as well. They just feel, oh my god, I can't stray away from this, I need to push through. Like Sally down at the gym is like killing it. She's lost 2 pounds this week, so I need to starve myself a little bit more to lose more than her. Like, very competitive, and that's just inbuilt in us anyway, but we need to learn to control that a little bit more.
Yeah, like, I do think that, like, especially when you build a whole identity around it, like I built a whole lifestyle around my eating disorder. It wasn't my identity. I didn't know, but then I was like, shit, like, this isn't who I am. And it's so funny because people get so attached to like the identity of like these disordered, and not everyone who exercises and like bloody eats healthy has got a disorder. It's not what we're saying, but for sure, like, when you create a whole identity around it, especially anything like being a vegan, and then when they have to turn back on that because of their health and they get slandered through social media, like, this is why we just, you know, we come back to the same point. Like, you creating a whole identity around this, it's gonna fall to shit at some point, because for sure it's toxic. And then all of you are in that community justifying or normalizing actually something that could probably, for like 70% of them, could be really detrimental. And, you know, then there's just people like you and I who are like, you know, you can just be normal, you can just do things in moderation. It doesn't sound as sexy as, I don't know, what's the latest thing?
I don't even know. I've lost track of carnivore. So
the point, I get it for a certain application, but like, I literally, like, if someone follows me or comments me, and like someone the other day was like, oh, they follow me, I was like, how have they found me? And they were called Extreme Diets. And I looked at their page and I instantly felt like a fat piece of shit. Even though I knew, I looked and I was like, this is adrenal meltdown on a page.
Could you not have realised from the name, Cassie? Come on.
I wanted to look. I thought, how have they got the audacity to like one of my photos? And the worst part was, I'd hashtagged it on. The only hashtags I do are body shame, body acceptance, body love, eating disorder recovery. Those are my hashtags. So why the fuck are they hanging around that hashtag? This is what I want to know, because none of that extreme dieting comes from a place of genuine care for people's health.
Yeah, they're just preying on people who are like vulnerable.
Yeah, they're cashing. There's nothing wrong with. I'm not saying everyone who provides a solution for insecurity is cashing in, but genuinely, extreme diets, whoever they are, I'm just calling them out. They're cashing in. There could be
Absolutely.
any. There could be
Yeah,
any.
I'm sure people think I've had comments before like, oh, do you never? What's your cheat meal? Like, do you not get tired of eating healthily? Like, when was the last time you had a McDonald's? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really eat that. If I wanted to eat it, I would. And I've said before, like if I have like for a meal, because I have PCOS and insulin resistance and some issues with blood sugar, I will just talking about like going for a walk afterwards or making sure that I strength train that day to help with absorption, not to burn off the calories or punish myself for eating some potatoes or chips or whatever. But people are like, oh, you must have disordered eating because you're going exercising afterwards. But I'm actually trying to do it to support my health. I'm doing it for my body, not as punishment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's so right. Like, you come in from that conscious place. Like, I'll just drop and do 10 burpees. If I know I'm, or if I want to, like, I might do a bit of a longer walk or something. Like when I had that avo bagel, I made sure I did a nice long walk before and after, because I was like, my body is not used to a lot of carbs in one go, and I've just given it bloody like sugary bread. But like, isn't it weird that people talk about cheat meals as well? Like I was thinking about cheat meals earlier, and like this whole diet mentality, that because then you plan it, you build up the anticipation. And two things are going to happen. A, it probably won't be as good as you anticipated. And then you'll just seek more food because you're like, well, I wanted it to be better than it was. Like, then you might not even want it when you get to it because you've given yourself the permission. Like, so many weird things about cheat. I've got a problem with cheat meals.
Yeah, or they'll just like, oh, I've had that now, so I'll just have the dessert and then I'll start on Monday. So I've got all the weekend to continue eating all this crap. And then they just never start. They keep putting it off. Like before, I'll wait to start the diet, wait till I've been on holiday, and then the birthday party comes up, so I can't do it now, and then it's my weekend away with my friends, so there's no point starting it, and then it just never happens, and you just end up in this vicious cycle. So why not just live a healthy lifestyle, be 80-20 around it, and not put all of these rules in place, because it's going to be so much more easy and freer to do. And I don't usually use I don't have a problem with the word diet, because I think it's just a way to explain like a way of eating. Yeah. And I don't come from that eating disorder type background, so I know it's different for other people. But I use the term like nutrition instead, just so it's not triggering for some people. So like when I ask my clients for a food diary, I don't say a diet diary, because some people that stresses them out. So I use my language considerably, and like think of how that could affect other people. But yeah, I think it's hard, like not coming from a disordered eating bad times of like binge eating episodes after going to the gym and not eating enough and having like 3 bowls of granola and 2 jars of nut butter, but never had like a diet problem. And then I went through the phase of over exercising, under eating, which probably was a little bit bordering on orthorexia. But I know people who like really struggle, they're very triggered and they go completely the other side, where they just eat whatever they want and it works really well. But there's some people who do need to follow diets that term to manage a chronic health issue or prevent something like cancer from reoccurring. So I want to be somewhere in like the grey area. It's not eat whatever you want, eat junk food, no diets at all, and it's not just eat healthy all the time, no leeway. There needs to be like a grey area, and that's where it's not very cool or sexy or something that you can market too much, but that is where a lot of people find benefit.
Vivien, truth proves itself.
does.
People find you when they're fed up of the bullshit. Like, and I think that when people get to that point that they realize they need to invest in a practitioner, then they're in the right place, ready, because they're not going to listen to you up until that point anyway, you know?
Yeah. And I always make sure like the people who reach out to me are ready to like do it, because sometimes people will ring me and I can tell they need to actually see a therapist before they need to see me. So I don't take them on unless I'm like interviewing them during the call that we have, like, how motivated are you? Are you actually ready to start this? Why has it not worked in the past? If your quote diets or think protocols that you've been through failed, are you in the right place in your life to start something like this? Because it is an investment, both mentally, emotionally, financially, all of that. But in the long run, it is worth it to take care of your body, because it's the only place you'll ever live. Cheesy.
I felt the
cheese on toast
inside of you.
Cheese on toast.
But it's true. Like, when I have discovery calls with clients, like, I know instantly if they're ready to work on their stuff. Like, and that's okay. Like, it's okay if people aren't ready. Like, I want to emphasize that, because I think you need to get to a certain point of being just like, fucking hell, I need to just pay someone now. I'm just going to give someone my money, just fix me, tell me what to do, I'll do it. You need to get to that point. Like, I have 3 coaches now. I'll have 4 when I'm working with you, like when we have our session, like, because we need them. Like, it's important to invest in people if you want to get better.
Agreed.
Like, I mean, if you want, I mean, I know you're an NTP, but like, you've paid like a lot for your mold test. I remember you telling me, I was like, oh, but you knew you had to do it. Like, sometimes if we rely on conventional healthcare, it's not going to give us the answer we need, and then it just it disempowers us, and I think we actually have a lot more power than we think.
All those people who just search online for free information all the time, and then maybe they get some symptoms improved, they feel a little bit better, but then they're like, oh, supplements work, or removing this food isn't the answer, but it's because they haven't actually looked at the bigger picture, and they're just trying to get all of this free information rather than just investing, giving it away to someone. I think is another important factor, just trying to have someone see things from an external perspective, because sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees when it comes to your own health. You're like, maybe I need to look into seed cycling, or reducing my carbohydrates, tweaking my macros. And sometimes it's because you're not going to bed, you're not sleeping, you're stressed at your mind, you're in a toxic relationship. Sometimes you can't see that because you're not looking at the basics, you're looking at the very specific things that usually don't move the needle.
Yeah, it's so true. And this is why people need to work with you. I'm excited. Like, I'm going to be giving a full review on my show when we've done our work together.
Oh, yeah.
This is what's wrong with me.
Let's do it.
Y, Z. And now I'm going to... No, but I know, though, that then sometimes, you know, the spiritual work is good, Googling is good, it's all great, but there comes a point where if you've reached a plateau with your health, and I think where people are just having the same shit over and over again, insanity, like me, then, yeah, it's like, okay, who should I invest in? And, like, I know I liked you because you talk about hormones, and at the end of the day, I think for women, most of our problems, we can see them in our hormones, you know. I mean, look at mine. When I messaged you, it wasn't it the other day when I messaged you about my temperature, and it just was like, it's like 34 degrees.
Yeah, you're like, help.
And I just went, look, I'm just going to fucking book in. Because it had some weird symptoms, like, and things I thought, oh, I can sort of do this. And I always knew I wanted to work with you. But then I was just like, oh, we're not going to LA. I may as well use my spending money on Vivien.
Yeah. I'll do a blood test and a hair test instead. Much more fun.
I literally said to Vivien in the voice, and I was like, look, tell me what you want. If I have to pay more and just get it done. And Vivien, she was really good. So like, if you're going to book in, she'll be really honest. She'll be like, no, like, let's stick with this one. You know, Scorpio, I'm like dying. You know, just like, go on, just like, I'll do them all. I'll poo in the pot. I'll whatever.
Like, just take whatever you need from me. Take my arm if you need.
Apart from my hair.
Yeah, but we've ended up needing your hair, so apologies.
Honestly, though, it's live on air. If they ask for more of my hair, I'm going to grow out my pubes and they can have it.
You can rebel and send them pubic hair instead. That is an option, though.
But they need 1.5 inches.
Oh. Your boyfriend's gonna be a little bit angry with me suggesting that.
I'm just gonna be like, oh, it's for my health.
Yeah. Deal with it.
Yeah,
this is who I am.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do it, like, just because I don't want to lose head hair. I'm hoping my sample will just go through.
Yeah,
I think quite a lot of bloody hair.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I'll let you know. And we'll share everything, what's going on with you. I'm sure everyone's dying to know what's going on in that body of yours.
I mean, it's probably not ethical, but someone asked me the other day, they'd be so interested to, like, if I did a live reading on air. I don't think it's ethical for you to do my labs live on a podcast.
No, we won't do it live. We'll edit the serious or intimate things out, but
I mean,
share what you want.
Open. I don't care for people to listen. I think that, guys, if you're listening, you're like, oh, it sounds interesting. We could do that.
Let Cassie know if you're interested.
You know, what it's like to work with Vivien live.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem on my end. It's just, how much do you want the world to know about you?
Oh, I don't care. No, it's fine. What I'm worried about is that you've got cancer or something. No. Let's take us off air. No. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. So, Vivien, I don't really know what this conversation was about tonight, so I just wanted people to realise how amazing you are. So, okay, let's wrap up by you. I mean, I know people know you, but just sum up what you can offer, why someone should work with you, because I'm telling them they should if they've got health conditions that have been unanswered. But do you want to share how they find you, what services you offer, you know?
Yeah, I really hate picture myself.
Why?
I don't know.
What's that about? You need to get your bollocks
introvert life
on the table.
Okay.
I'm Vivien.
I'm Vivien. I'm a naturopathic nutritionist, meaning that I have a naturopathic approach when it comes to health. I'm not just a calorie, like a dietitian who works in like a hospital setting. My goal is to identify and address the root causes of your hormonal issues. When I say hormones, that's not just talking about your period, although that is like your monthly sign and very important. Your hormones affect everything. So from your mood to your future health, your experience of menopause, your energy, just the way that you live your day-to-day life, it can be affected so much by your hormones. I use functional lab tests, some of which Cassie is going to be doing over the next few weeks. Things like stool testing, hormone testing, mineral checks, just to see what's going on, because I was not helped by the medical service, the NHS, and I had to find answers for myself. Otherwise I would have ended up on antidepressants, birth control pills, antibiotics, a ton of medication, completely unhappy. So I studied to help other people, and now that I know what I know, I just want to share it with others. So you can find my website that's got blog posts, free guides, more information about my services and everything. But I work one-on-one with people. I don't just do one-off sessions either, because especially when it comes to hormones, it needs a good 3-4 months of working together to really see long-lasting results. And my website is vivanaturalhealth.co.uk. That's VIVA Natural Health. On Instagram, it's Viva Natural Health. I have a podcast Cassie's been on twice, talking all about astrology. We did a birth chart reading on there for me, which was amazing. And my podcast is Hormones in Harmony, which you can find on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff.
I love your podcast, and I'll link all that stuff in the show notes. Yeah, your podcast I'm absolutely loving it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll tell you something interesting that I mentioned afterwards. Anyway, so thank you for coming on, Vivien, again, and our intimate chat about
you're welcome.
hair and other things. I don't remember much else.
Etc.
And pubic hair. Maybe that's what I'll call the episode.
Yes. Please do that.